Hey guys, so we're here with Todd McVicker. Did I say that correct?
That's right.
Awesome. Todd was recently in the Philippines, and Todd, can you share an amazing story of something you experienced while you were there?
Yeah, the craziest thing happened this time. This is my second trip working with White River Tier in the Philippines, and we one night we're at this very small bar, and the goal is to kind of preach Jesus without necessarily preaching Jesus. So just loving on people and really trying to give these girls just a reprieve from the hell that they're living at the moment. And walk into this very small bar, immediately see this girl that I know God is speaking to me. I want you to talk to this girl. So I'll tell the waitress, hey, I want to talk to this girl, pointing at her, and she goes, oh, that girl, she's a virgin, you'll like that. And I went, oh my God, yeah, yes, I definitely want to talk to her. So she comes down, she's shaking, she's very nervous. I found out through the conversation that she's 19 years old, her very first week in the bar, she's a virgin, and she's terrified, obviously. And so we just strike up a conversation and try to get her to laugh a little bit. And we invite her to this girls' getaway where we're paying for her to go, parasailing and jet skiing and just have some fun for a couple of days and not have to worry about this. And she is 100% in. She's screaming, she's clutching this card like it's lifeblood. And so that part is over. So now we're just trying to get to know her a little bit. And I found out she's actually a worship leader at her church. And you see, as soon as she says that, like the shame just kind of overtakes her. That yes, I'm a Christian. I'm actually a worship leader, but I'm stuck in this environment. How did I get here? And she uses phrases like, I feel trapped. I feel like there's no hope. And so we let that sit for a little bit. And I'm actually a worship leader, so I have that in common with her. And she says that word again, like I feel hopeless. And I just told her, you could leave with us tonight if you wanted to. And she starts weeping. I mean, weeping. And I start crying. My other team member starts crying. And we're having this moment with God and this girl in the midst of this chaos around us. And she goes, I would like that. So we talked to our White River Tier kind of leader and says she wants to leave. How do we do that? We've never talked about that. That wasn't in the brochure or anything. And she says, well, really the only way to do it safely is for you to pay the bar fine for her to get off work. And I said, oh, okay, let's do that. So how much is the bar fine? It was $60 US. So we pay that money, and she leaves with us that night. And we walk out in the street and immediately see this joy and this lightness kind of overtake her, and I lose my mind. Go between crying and laughing and just trying to understand what I just saw, that God literally reached into this darkness, grabbed this girl and pulled her out. And that's the gospel. Like that, he came to set the captives free, and I actually saw that in action that night. And I've never seen anything like that before in my life, and it absolutely changed everything, the way that I think about God, the bigness mixed with the smallness, that he uses all these little things to work together to reach one person in the Philippines. Amazing.
Todd, I find it amazing that the fact that you were a part of just one person being rescued, that moment, you met many others, but the fact that you were able to walk up, how did God point that person out to you?
Yeah, that's one of the crazy things is as we're preparing for the trip, like even Kenny says, pray and ask the Holy Spirit to reveal things to you, like names, what they look like, what they're wearing. And it's crazy that God actually speaks in that way. Like he's so intentional that he will point out someone. So as soon as we walk in that club, I see this girl, and it was like God put a bullseye on her. I knew that was who I was sent to talk to. Absolutely no question about it. No one else in that club but that one girl. And I found out later on that when I was praying about this trip, months before we even left, I kept getting this name, and it was her name. And God said that months before we even went, that was going to be that connection point. He speaks, and all we have to do is listen. Like, we really have to listen, and he does it every single time. It's amazing.
So I have a couple more questions with that whole thing, because this story is amazing. Mm-hmm. How did she get there?
Yeah, that's one of the crazy things, and each girl's story is a little bit different, but it's also similar. Most of the time, they're tricked into it. Like I said, this girl is a worship leader at her church, so how do you go from leading worship on Sunday to being trafficked in this club away from home. And for her, it was the promise of a job. And that's one of the huge things going on in the Philippines is there's not a lot of work. There's so many people, very few jobs. So it's one of the classic stories. The family is struggling financially. Dad leaves to go provide for the family. He's not around. Mom is trying to get work. Siblings are trying to get work. And they go from one house to a smaller house to a smaller house to kind of the shack kind of thing. And they are barely making it. So this family member comes along and goes, hey, there's work for you in the city. All you have to do is come. You can be a waitress. You can provide for your family. And it's like this hope, this false hope that, yeah, I can help my family. So she goes to the club. She thinks she's going to be a waitress. And she gets there and they go, okay, get up on stage. Here's your bikini. And now you are selling yourself to men. And they feel trapped. They feel like, okay, if this is what I have to do, then I guess this is my lot in life. And there's nothing else that I'm able to do. So, okay, they reluctantly step into it. And then once you say yes to it, it's almost like there's no way out. And that's a lot of them felt like that there's no hope, there's no way out. We heard that over and over again.
So another cool part of the story from when you explained it to me earlier was she had a conversation with God before she got onto the dance floor. Can you share that?
Absolutely. This is one. There's so many facets to this story, but we found out a couple of days later that right before she went out that night, again, this is her first week working in the bar, she's physically ill in the back. And this was like an hour before she was supposed to go on, be on stage and dance. And she's trying to get out of work. She's like physically ill, stomach problems, like the whole thing. And so she's kind of working up the nerve to talk to the bosses like, hey, I need to be off, I'm not feeling well. And she says, God speaks to her, you need to be on stage tonight because someone needs to see you. I mean, reconcile that for a little bit. God is telling this young girl that you need to be out on stage to prostitute yourself because someone needs to see you. That's crazy. And I mean, if you think about it, had she not gone out, I would have never met her. And yeah, I mean, God absolutely could use somebody else in another circumstance, but he wanted her that night to be free. And that's what happened.
What I find incredibly exciting about this, and that, as a guy, we dream of being a part of rescue missions. We dream of, sweeping in and rescuing a damsel in distress. Mm-hmm. We dream of heroic stuff like that. And how heroic is it to be able to be a guy who goes into a sex bar and rescue someone and hear from God in it?
Oh my gosh.
How are you now?
It changed me. It changed me. It gave me just so much life. I feel like I came back and I see the world differently. I see God differently. And I'm looking for opportunities, not just like that, what happened in the Philippines, but could this guy next to me on MARTA be another story like that? And all we really have to do is just to be aware that God is working, that he's speaking, that he's moving all the time. And all we have to do is step into it, to listen, to have a conversation, to slow down long enough to hear someone's story. And that's what I'm looking for almost every single day. It changed the way I view God. It changed the way I spend time with him. And one of the kind of weird things that you don't really think about going on a mission trip is it knocks some religion out of you. And it knocks that formula and that rhythm of what it means to be a Christian. And you find this kind of organic connection with God, with the Holy Spirit, with Jesus all together. It changed me.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for going, and I can't wait to hear some more stories about your next trip.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Todd.